Welcome back to the kitchen. In today's video, we're going to be running through probably one of the most popular but hardest to get right meats available, the humble chicken breast. Now before we kick off, I think it's important to first note that if you want to consistently cook good chicken breasts, there is one essential tool that you must have, and that is, of course, thermometers. Using a thermometer is going to take all of the guesswork out of cooking chicken. Now I personally have two types of thermometers. This one here is an instant read where I can just stick into food once it's cooked to check the temp. The second one that I have is something you can insert into the food, place it into the oven, and you can set a timer. So when it hits that temp you want, you can pull it straight out. So the next question is, what temp should we cook chicken breast to? Well, fortunately, Kenji Lopez, the goat of cooking from Series Seats, has done the math for us. As you can see from this graph, at 165 or 74C, chicken is considered instantly safe. However, if you hold chicken breast at just 68C for 40 seconds, we get the exact same result, so that will be our target temp for today's video. Now, the second issue we're going to run into is the inconsistent size of chicken breasts, which leads us nicely into our first cooking method, blackening. First off, we're going to start by cutting the chicken breast in half lengthways. This is going to completely even out the chicken breast to ensure that we have an even cook throughout the entire piece of meat. Now, make sure you are taking your time here. You are keeping the knife level with the board and doing a slow, steady cut all the way through that piece of meat. Now you can easily see the consistency and how we're going to get an even cook throughout the entire piece of chicken. Now you can use whatever spice combination you like. I've got some chili powder, some dried thyme, smoked paprika, and some cumin here. Now the one thing I would say is check if you're using a pre-made spice mix because they may have a good amount of sugar which will burn pretty quickly in this recipe. Now grab yourself a bowl, throw your chicken breasts in, and to help the seasoning adhere a little bit more to the chicken, we're going to be throwing a little bit of olive oil on top. You're then going to quickly realize that you're a YouTuber and a clear bowl would be much better for this. Now just get all of your seasoning mix in there, give it a good rub around and make sure that chicken breast is completely covered. Now over on the stove top, we're preheating our pan and going in with a little bit of olive oil. Now the goal here is to create a nice blackened crust on both sides of the chicken breast. Now this is why it's important not to use a rub with too much sugar as it will burn pretty quickly. Now don't be too frightened of burning things here, that is the goal. We want a nice even crust on both sides of the chicken. Now at this point, if you have your thermometer, we are looking for that 155 or 68 degrees Celsius. Let them rest for a few minutes and you will be greeted with the most flavorful piece of chicken breast you've ever had in your entire life. Next up is for those looking for a slightly easier method but just as juicy and delicious. For this method, we're going to be butterflying our chicken breast, which starts the same way as our previous method. However, we're not going to go all the way through the chicken breast. As you can see, the goal is to cut down the middle while leaving that center piece, which is going to give us a much more consistently shaped chicken breast. We are then going to preheat our oven to 200 degrees C or 392F. Now, an optional but highly recommended step here is to pan sear the chicken breast before you place it in the oven. That brown crust from pan frying is going to give us so much extra flavor in our end result. So make sure your pan is ripping hot and just get that chicken breast down for a minute or two on each side. Once the chicken is looking good, we're going to insert our temperature probe set to 155F or 68C. Now I know not everyone has a pan that can go straight into the oven, so if not, just pop your chicken breast onto this foil lined tray with a little bit of olive oil. And in 10 to 15 minutes, you're greeted with again a super juicy, flavorful piece of chicken breast. Now this is probably the method you are least familiar with, poaching. Start by grabbing a pot that's big enough to fit as many chicken breasts as you'd like and then bring it up to a simmer. We're then going to season the liquid with some salt. I'm using some cardamom here and some whole black peppercorns, but you can use whatever you want. Now just drop as many chicken breasts as you'd like in here. Now remember, the goal is slow cooking. Monitor the temperature of your water, and once that chicken hits 155 or 68, pull it, ready for the next step. Now you can see I went slightly over. I think I was cooking 3 chicken breasts at this point, so just knock that on the head. And your end result looks something like this. I know it's not mega appealing, but there are so many options. It's basically a blank canvas you can use in a multitude of different dishes. Method 4 is probably the one I use the most, stir frying. For the cutting method, we're going to start again with that horizontal slice right through the breast. Once you have 2 slices, we then want to cut across the grain for more tender pieces of chicken. And you should be left with some nice even strips of chicken. Over on the stove top, we're preheating a pan nice and hot. Obviously, if you don't have a wok, just use whatever pan you have. Once the pan is ripping hot, go in with the chicken. Now remember, the chicken is pretty thin. It's going to cook quickly, so keep an eye on it. Do not let it burn or overcook. I went in with a splash of light and dark soy sauce. Obviously, you'd normally have vegetables and stuff, but for the purpose of this video, we're just doing the chicken. Once most of that soy is evaporated and the chicken is looking golden, it is ready to pull and serve. Quick, easy, simple, great with veg, noodles, rice, the works. Last but certainly not least is our crispy breaded chicken. Just like before, cut the chicken breast horizontally. However, this time we're going for about 1-inch nugget shapes. Next up, we're setting the breading station. In one bowl goes 1 egg with a pinch of salt and pepper, and in the second bowl goes 20 to 30 grams of corn flour. Now I used the same seasoning as the blackened chicken, which was dried thyme, cumin, smoked paprika, and chili powder. Now in small batches, get the chicken into the egg and straight over into the cornstarch. I also ended up grabbing this little landing station, which did help quite a bit. Again, over at the stovetop, we are preheating the wok to nice high heat. Now this method needs a little bit more oil than the previous ones, which is going to make it higher calorie, but 10 times more tasty. Now, I don't have an air fryer, nor have I ever used one, but I bet you could save some calories and get just as good a result in one of those. Now, these are so good. They're crispy, they're spicy. You could have a little sauce to go with them as well. Obviously higher calories, but that is the price you pay. And that's a wrap. Those are the 5 ways that I prepare chicken breast every single week. Now, starting off with the cornstarch. This is probably always going to be the best one. That crispy crust is going to adhere to some sauce well, so making a nice spicy sauce to coat that is just perfect. Now, this is the one that's probably a bit more weird. The poached chicken might seem a bit strange, but the applications are endless. You can literally put 5 or 6 chicken breasts in one pot of water, and you can have chicken ready for the entire week. I have this all the time. Applications can be things just as simple as putting in a burrito or in a sandwich just midweek, and you can just have it as like little snacks throughout the week. It's so simple, so easy to make. Now, the stir-fried chicken. Now, this has probably been sat here for about an hour, so it's not in the best condition, but you can see obviously how consistently shaped it is and nice and thin. It cooks dead quickly. It's really good for stir fries. It's just a perfect piece of meat. You can season it really well. Perfect. Now this is the number one for me. It's actually been sat in the fridge for the past 5 hours. It's currently 9:53 p.m. I probably cooked this about 2 p.m. I had a gap between work and I thought it was longer, but it really wasn't. But even now you can see nice glistening crust. It is absolutely perfect. I haven't even tried this yet, so let's get in. Bearing in mind it is cold, it has been sat in the fridge for a good amount of time. Straight away, the spiciness from the crust. If I reheat that, it would be perfect. Now, last but not least is the butterfly chicken. Now again, this has been cooked the same time as the first one. It's been sat in the fridge for about 3 or 4 hours now because I did have to go to work. I thought I'd have time. But you can see even now, I don't know how hard it is to see, it is still super juicy. Just because of the way we cooked it, 155, it is perfect. It's perfect. Obviously it's a bit bland because I didn't really put too many seasons on it, but you can decide if and what you want to go on your chicken. So those would be my 5 methods to cook chicken breast. Throw these into your rotation and I guarantee you'll get so much more enjoyment out of this usually boring, bland piece of meat. Thank you for watching and I'll see you in the next one.